introduce to you the man of the hour, Tony.
Hello and welcome back to At the Gates. I am your host, not horse, Tony. With me is
that tall guy, Jared.
Freakishly tall and typing text to people.
What time they open the gates? Is it
2 hours? Yep.
Is it going to be 2 hours?
Random interruption there. 2 hours gates time, just in case you were wondering. There is no editing.
It's all live.
Well, live-ish. So, what are we doing today, Jared? What is today?
Today is the opening day of the start of the Twins' probably worst season next to last season. So, opening day for Major League Baseball in Minnesota.
Baseball, not basketball.
Did I say basketball?
No, we just eliminate the KT around here,
Gotcha.
right? Yeah, so the Twins are looking to avoid losing over 100 games for the second time in Twins history. I think it's doable. It's doable.
Maybe.
We're going to be better than last year. We can't be worse.
I hope so.
So, what is your thought about this team? What's missing? What's there?
What's there? We have youth. We have skill, definitely. We probably could use some more experience. Our major needs are definitely pitching. Top.
That's a broken record.
Yeah, right. But you never know. I mean, you steal some wins here, you steal some wins there, and then you can have a reasonable season. But if you don't steal wins, then you have a horrible season. So, I think everybody that I know thinks this is a work in progress season, and probably will be for the next few seasons, unfortunately. But there's still time to have that, or still it's still okay to have a little hope now and then. Maybe not Cubbies level hope, but still hope.
I think if the Twins can steal a few wins, like you say, if they're good at stealing wins, they're probably going to end up with a 500 season. Realistically, I would say they lose somewhere around 90 games.
So.
72 and 90 seems about right. 59 and 103.
59 and 103.
So I'd say if we can finish with 11 more wins, that's definitely a win. The broken record is pitching. Then there's pitching. We need pitching. And finally, some pitching would be good. We have some youth in the pitching department, but not nearly enough. And I don't think that we have that ace that is required for any good team to go deep into any type of playoff run. So even if we were to luck out and somehow beat all odds, if we made it to the playoffs, which is not going to happen, there's a 0% chance. But if we did, we still wouldn't go deep because we don't have really anyone that could come out and contend with either a good team's number one, let alone their number two, and maybe even their number three starter.
So there goes the first 3 games of every series, potentially.
Yeah, so I mean, we got a lot of good 4 or 5 starters. That can mean something. I don't know. There's really not much that I had thought about for this.
We definitely need a clubhouse leader, somebody to kick the guy's ass in gear when things are going down. I mean, Torrey did that, right? It's not like Mauer's going to do it, because Mauer definitely won't do that.
Will it help having those guys kind of back in a capacity with the Twins, though? Because both Torrey, LaTroy, and Cuddy are back. Can they do anything?
Are they going to be on the bench on a daily basis?
No, but they'll be in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, because that'll help. Let me send a memo from the broadcast booth. Hey, Bert and Torrey say, get your ass in gear. I'm going to come down there and do something about it. Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, maybe on the days that he's not in the broadcast booth, he'll come down and get a party started in the clubhouse, and it will carry over to the field. I'm being optimistic there, but yeah.
Maybe, but you can definitely tell there was a difference when Torrey was in the clubhouse. Whether or not they won, they were still so much more loose on the field that automatically translates to 5 wins kind of thing, because you're not uptight going into that first pitch, and you don't want that if you want to be successful. So,
And it's weird because you mentioned like leadership and stuff, and I think that there are some guys on here that have the potential, even a guy like Sano and stuff like that. But I think it's also a little bit tough when your leader is a Latino, because that really only translates to part of the clubhouse because there is that language barrier. I know that there's some other teams where that can happen, but I think as youth, and
I was just going to say, because he's still a younger guy,
Yep.
he doesn't have the clout to be able to step up like that yet either.
so I think that we have some of those guys, but they're not at that level yet. And
Especially
the guys
when
that we do have, like you said, Maurer and even Dozier. Dozier's probably on his way out, so it's like, how much can he invest in this team? They're
I think
open.
that he's still got to invest as much as he did last year, just because whether or not he is on the way out, he's still got to play good in order to be able to be picked up somewhere else. So
Yeah.
so there has to be that fire in him at least, and for a guy like Sano to step up to, what was I going to say? He, because he hasn't been an everyday person for one specific position and then been successful at the plate. Aside from that too, it's going to be, that's another sort of drawback for him as being a leader, or stepping into that leadership role right now anyway.
Yeah, there's some. It wasn't nearly as good as what it could have been for him last year, so there's still some proving of himself to the team that needs to happen. But
he could easily end up having that sort of Kadire effect or Trevor Plouffe effect, where now that you can find that everyday position, you can be comfortable. You can just relax a little bit, know that you're going to play almost every day. They'll give you a break now and then, but play almost every day, and then really get back into your rhythm and hit the ball well. And obviously Plouffe and Kadire weren't necessarily the most standout kind of guys, but they definitely had much better consistency day in and day out, having that everyday role.
And they seem to also be like well liked within the clubhouse, where they were part of a larger group and able to bond with other guys. So I was actually going to mention that, is that the loss of Plouffe, while on the field, might not be huge, especially because we can replace him with Sano at the corner, which is probably a step up. The loss of that expertise, and that I know that he was on the team last year and they didn't do so well, but to take out a piece that was at least partial leadership and replace it with maybe no leadership could really hurt things even worse, which is hard to think about, but it's a new season, I guess. We'll see. The one good thing is we have new leadership at the front office.
Yeah.
That's going to be good. I think if we can start finding some of those diamonds in the rough, which the guy coming over from the Indians was good at for pitching, if we can start to do that, we might be onto something.
A little more analytical approach to the play, instead of they need to fit into a specific cog of the system.
They even said, he came out and said, you know what, this pitch to contact thing, it's done.
Yeah.
So that's already a strong message that I think a lot of people around here would be head over heels for.
Yeah.
Because that's all. I mean, you look at really great players right now, they're striking out still a ton. Strikeouts are king when it comes to pitching right now. If you have pitchers that can't strike out guys, that basically means that you're getting guys on base, which is never good.
And not that it directly leads to it, but because the Twins showed that it can work, but it almost essentially guarantees you a not first place position within your division, and maybe even a not second place place in your division, because of the fact that you're almost automatically putting guys on base once an inning, twice an inning kind of thing on average.
Kind of that Brad Radke effect, where like that probably means that you're going to give up some big innings, especially early in the game. And with a team like the Twins right now, you can't do that. You can't get in the hole early, and that also probably means that if you're not having a strikeout pitcher on your team, you don't have an ace. And if you don't have an ace or even a number two, you're not going to go deep in these playoffs. Not anymore.
But I haven't paid that much attention to the starters and the backup situation, how they go in and out for each other. But do they do we have a lot more consistency in the starting 9 now? I didn't pay that much attention to spring training.
Fielders wise, it seems yes, but it's kind of weird because a few years ago our strength was outfielders. We had an overabundance of them, and then in the last few years that kind of turned into our weak spot, and I still think that it could be a weak spot. It's more of that's where we're showing our youth right now, which could be great because we can have them for a long time, or it could be bad because then we have nothing behind them.
I get a good vibe from Kepler. I feel like Kepler is going to be a mainstay in the outfield for us.
I hope Buxton, he shows flashes of it.
He stays healthy.
Yeah.
Doesn't mess up his ankles or knees. He can still have that speed throughout.
Then we have Eddie Rosario, who
sort of seems out of place, but
when he's on, he's on. When he's not, it's tough.
Yeah. But he's fast, relatively, right?
All of them. All of them.
Yeah. So,
so who's your favorite? Who's your favorite Twin right now? If I'm holding a gun to your head.
Honestly, of course, I like Dozier. The guy just has been bringing it every day for the last couple seasons, so you can't go wrong with him. But
except for the off season, he hasn't brought it in the off season. Look at how many days off that he hasn't hit a home run.
What you don't know is he was hitting home runs every single day in the batting cage. So of course,
fine.
He's putting holes in the cage because he's hitting them so hard. Only I know that because I was at the cage helping him out. You know, I'm his off-season batting coach, by the way. But no, like I really do like Kepler. I think he's got, to me, I sort of grew up liking that Kadire kind of player once he really made his mainstay in the lineup, and I feel like Plouffe followed in that lineup. And
how much that cost?
About $70.
That's all?
Just online.
Oh, okay. Pretty damn cheap then.
Yeah.
Was it made in China?
Yeah. Super cheap.
All right, have fun.
Yep.
This interruption brought to you by Big Gloves of America, made for mascots, sold on Amazon, and bought by Tony Voda. So anyway,
not made from leather either.
That's true.
Not because of the whole vegan thing, but mainly because it's cheap and crappy.
It's real fake leather. But anyway, I think, like I said, I really enjoyed watching Kadire play every day. I feel like Plouffe picked up where Kadire left off, and I think Kepler is gonna have that same. What I see out of Kepler, I feel like he's got that same sort of role coming into his wheelhouse for him. So I like Kepler.
Well, mine is Plouffe. Oh wait, he's gone. He gone. Yeah, that sucks. It's weird because I never really liked playing third base. There was something about the hot corner that just was. It was too fast. It just wasn't even like pleasurable. Like
I liked it though. It kept me on my toes when I played.
It kept me on my toes, but man, I took one to the eye once. That wasn't fun. It's just one of those
softball masks.
I probably needed it, but it was just one of those things where like I liked the infield, but that was my least favorite. But for some weird reason, I ended up liking players that were third basemen, like Ventura, Plouffe now, and I'm oddly going to stick there, and I'm going to say Sano's my favorite. He's super nice, he's a good dude, and he seems like he's on the way up, hopefully a leader.
Can the Twins develop him appropriately, though?
I think with the new system that they have in place, yes, because if we have leadership that's saying, you know, we want pitchers that are strikeout pitchers, hopefully that also means that we want batters that are power hitters, and he's a power hitter just waiting to be unleashed.
Right. So this is what, his third full season with the Twins?
Second full season. The season before that he was called up, I think, in May or something.
So is 2 seasons full and a partial under the Twins way, the old Twins way, is that too much to undo from a batter to change him into a power hitter? I don't necessarily think so, but is that enough?
I don't think so, because I think towards the end of last year they kind of realized, oh crap, we've been toying with him so much, and between that and a little bit of injuries, I think that was enough to kind of be their wake-up call of, okay, we've seen him kind of decline, let's prevent this, let's let him kind of unleash and figure some things out. And you know, if they're ready for their pitchers to be guys that strike out a bunch of guys, they probably also know the flip side that
have to do the offensive side of it too.
So, and not just the offensive side, but they probably know, okay, that probably means that we're going to have some hitters that will strike out a lot. But if we can develop them to have power and hit 250 with a high slugging percentage, then that's going to be good.
So that's a good mentality. I like that. But how does that apply to Joe Mauer?
All the rules for
AKA it doesn't.
He is the Twins way, and he's never going to change. And unfortunately,
so essentially it's another season of $20 million going down the tubes for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, I would say if he can even get back to hitting 270, that would be a win. Home runs, if it's in the double digits, that's a win. I would say that there's a hot seat for him, but there's not, because the only thing that we could ever do is just outright like cut him, because there's going to be no one that trades for him. There's no way to just demote him down to AAA.
When's the last season on his contract?
Next year.
Next year.
So at this point, just hold on. I don't even know. He's taking up a vital spot too at first base. So.
But there's not really anyone else in the lineup that has that big of a death grip on the Twins roster right now, right? It's pretty much just...
Once that's loosened, I think right now he's making probably over a quarter of the salary. So that, once we get rid of him, I think that's when you could see the Twins maybe making a move at a legitimate ace. I would much rather have that money going to an ace right now and try to use your farm system to supply some of that power, because one, we have a little bit of it there, and two, it's easier to develop an impactful position player within their first few years than it is to develop an impactful pitcher player within their first few years. You saw it even with, unfortunately, the passing. We're going to go into the Royals side. The passing of Yordano Ventura. He was one of those guys where his first couple years he still was quite good, but there was a little bit of wildness, there was a little bit of doubt, there was kind of sending him back to the bullpen here and there, and it's weird because you think of him being an ace because he was on those two World Series teams, but at the age of 25 he was just beginning to figure it out. It's pretty rare for pitchers to come in and be like a Clayton Kershaw. Yeah. And at 21, just start mowing down guys.
Zach Greinke kind of thing. Zach Greinke obviously took how many years?
Yep.
It didn't help that he had the anxiety thing, but...
Yep. And it probably didn't help that he was on some pretty shitty Royal teams.
Yeah, that too. But obviously you can work through that, so...
Yep. So I think the Twins are in a holding pattern, like you said. It's kind of probably 2 years away before we start maybe competing for a low playoff spot, and I think what's going to be really weird is we're going to probably see a throwback to the mid-late 2000s where the Twins and the White Sox are kind of on the same path where we're really shitty right now, but in a couple years we'll be quite good, and it might be another like reignition of the rivalry between Chicago and Minnesota.
Yeah, for me, I hope it's not bad baseball. Like, I hope at least they're playing decent baseball and they just can't win because they don't have the skill.
Yep.
Like, you don't want to see tons of errors. You don't want to see just dumb strikeouts, that kind of thing.
You don't want to blow out early.
Yeah, and as long as you're progressing every single day, then that's what matters. But I mean, we've seen that under the old Twins way, it still was just a status quo kind of.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we stink, and we're trying to play the Twins way, but we're not really doing much to actually ensure that quality of the Twins way. And so,
or even like the Twins way, like when we were winning and making the playoffs, we were still really sticklers to sticking to that way, and it's good to make the playoffs, but when you don't really go anywhere and make a impactful kind of statement,
you can't expect that same thing to keep being successful.
Right.
To then all of a sudden be like, oh hey, yeah, this is gonna pan out.
So
especially when you didn't make, like, it's one thing if it's like you're sticking to your system, like that's cool, stick to your system, right? But then you have to be able to make sure you go after the guys that work best in your system. You can't just be making trades that are stupid, that basically give away the house.
Kind of like the Indians did. I mean, they stuck with their system, but then when they made this last playoff push and went to the World Series, they made those smart trades. They made the trades with the Yankees. They got some good bullpen guys. The Twins almost tried to do that in 2010, and they picked up a few semi-decent, but there was still that glaring hole of we don't have an ace. We never have had an ace since, Santana?
Yep. Liriano.
Yeah,
could be.
Liriano kind of, but then after that first year, he flamed out because of his shoulder issues. So it's like we've never really had that ace. So if we know that we can get into the playoffs, it was kind of dumb that we never made that one last push to make that one really big splash to push us over the edge. I think that the Twins, if they get to that point in the next few years, they'll finally pull the plug. And as long as they're not, like you said, giving up the entire franchise, I think they'll make it.
Most people can understand trying to be conservative. Like if you recognize that your team is going to be a work in progress, you understand trying to be conservative, right? You want to make sure you keep building upon your system and keep building upon your system. But like you were saying, in 2010, they had something. They had a legitimate contender and didn't really go after it. And you have to recognize that as much as being conservative works in some instances, other times you have to be a little more liberal and go after it.
And it might suck because you might be giving away your top two big name prospects that, in 5 years would have an impact to your team. But if you're on that precipice of like being able to get to the World Series or even take a title, you don't come across those very often, especially around here. So pull the trigger. Good news is that we don't have to worry about pulling that trigger anytime soon. I think if we can be smarter and be like the White Sox, who made really good trades in getting a lot of big name prospects back for their guys that,
instead of giving away the farm and getting junk in return,
they got the farm. Yeah. They took the Nationals they milked them dry, and it's frustrating because we've never really been good at trades here for as long as I've been around. Very rarely do we make a good one. The last good one was probably when we traded Pierzynski out to the Giants. We got Liriano, Nathan, and Boof Bonzer.
Yeah.
We love you, Boof. I know that you listen to this, Boof. How much time do we have left?
What's the giveaway today?
The giveaway, I think, is a long sleeve shirt. Last year it was a little bit better because it was the hoodie.
So basically it's not going to fit me anyway. Do you want mine? It's probably going to be a medium too.
I think that they have two sizes,
well,
small or XL.
Yeah, and neither one's I can wear the XL once and it'll shrink and fit my little sister when she was about 7.
Well, there you go.
So, yeah, giveaways. Good for kids.
Giveaway.
That's about it.
So what else is on your mind about baseball?
I'm just excited for baseball, really, in general.
Like the physical thing or the sport?
Both. The game is, for me, the excitement anymore, just because the Twins struggles. It's more about just enjoying the game rather than enjoying the Twins. Just as it has been with pretty much almost any sport now. So hopefully the Twins can be successful, which they're not likely to be, but just watching good, decent baseball, like I said earlier, and not just junky losses and stupid mistakes and all that kind of stuff.
That's the thing that I've noticed, especially since going after catching baseballs at games. You become more of a fan of like baseball and the MLB and different players on different teams.
Me.
Oh, okay. And then combining that with, like you were saying about the Twins being crappy, you start to focus on other teams and kind of like realize, okay, what are they doing right? Who are some decent guys? And it's kind of weird because as much as some people might shut down and just not like baseball, then I've found myself doing the opposite, where it's like, okay, I can appreciate more of baseball because I know that we're going to be bad, but like, what's my backup team? What kind of horse do I want in the playoffs? What do I appreciate? Who's where? Where are some former Twins?
For you that the White Sox were your second team for so long, and now they're struggling. Like for me,
although Ventura's gone, so now it's like my second team is
agent.
Plouffe.
Yeah. For me, it's always been the Cardinals. Just as a little kid, I grew up loving Ozzie Smith, so.
Because you're a wizard.
Of course, right? So yeah, that's sort of been my de facto second team. But like when it comes to playoff time, I always tend to pick. The Twins are never there usually, so I always pick my horse for the playoffs, and it's nice to follow a team that at least can make the playoffs and show success and stuff like that. So.
And you also don't want to go into it blind and just dumb. So that's where like during the rest of the season, when I know that the Twins are going to be bad, it's like, okay, I get to have a sneak peek at the Astros who come to town. I know that they're on the rise. Who's really good? Why would I like them? It's kind of like reading those like Deadspin articles where you're like, this is the reason why you should cheer for this team, or this is why this team sucks. It's
83 reasons why your team will not make the playoffs this year. Well,
the Twins have more than that. They have 103 as of last year.
And as dumb as we all are as humans, the clickbait titles get us, and then we of course read every single one of the 103 reasons because we're idiots, like as if we didn't know what those 103 reasons were.
And we argue with it in our head.
Yeah.
This is wrong. They forgot about this. So what about I know that I've been the one to kind of instigate it about going to different stadiums and stuff, but has that opened up the horizons too and kind of made baseball more enjoyable by like seeing some new places? And just
surprisingly, no. It's for me, I feel like before you and I really started getting into baseball as friends, I started to work into that through like watching March Madness and some of those sporting playoffs like that, enjoying those other teams and the skill of the players and just being like, yeah, that guy is good. You know, like when Kansas got beat by Oregon in the March Madness last week. And
we're not talking about hockey.
This is basketball, right? Oregon had that one guy that was blocking all the shots, and you just sit there and you're like, even though Kansas is my favorite team, you're like, that guy he is by himself changing the outcome of the game. You recognize those kind of things. So, basketball did that for me, and golf sort of did that for me, and so being able to do that for baseball now, just across the board, makes the whole thing more enjoyable.
That's cool. So, since I'm going to be doing a road trip here this next week.
I should say too, going on the road trips with you, now that you're talking about road trips, through photography and stuff, just the architecture and stuff has always been super interesting to me about, some of those first MLB games on the computer, just checking out, the dimensions of the stadium and stuff like that. And then I picked up photography in 2009, and ever since then it's like, ooh, I can get all these cool pictures of the stadium and stuff like that.
Like a rainbow during an all-star game.
Yeah, you shut your dirty mouth about that. But yeah, like being able to experience the different designs and architecture and things like that makes it more enjoyable too, because it's not just about the product on the field.
Yep.
You would hope that these architects that build these facilities are putting thought into not just, hey, this is going to make a shit ton of money for the owners, but also like, hey, this is a really well designed stadium. And people want to come here for the product on the field primarily, but you want to make the experience around the product on the field that much better.
Make it unique, make it something that's local, that can't be duplicated somewhere else. So what I was going to say about road trips, I'm doing one in a week, going to hit the West Coast. If you could basically make a dream trip to see like one or two stadiums, like what are the stadiums on your list that you just are really wanting to go see?
For a while there, I was big into the nostalgia of Wrigley and Fenway and things like that. I haven't been there. You've been to both of those facilities. But for some reason lately they just have been falling off the radar for my, like, I don't have a high desire to go there. I more just want to go there because of the history of it. But there's other places that I'd rather go to just for whatever reason. I'm more into them right now. Going to Baltimore, which we're going to try to do, going to Pittsburgh, which we're going to try to do. It's more, those Wrigley and Fenway have their quirks about them that make them desirable to go to. But I think there's more at some of those other facilities that more catch my eye, mostly because I'm so into the photography aspect of it right now. Whereas Wrigley and Fenway, there's just that historical presence there that makes it desirable to go to.
Could part of that also be, like, you mentioned PNC and Oriole Park? Both of those are kind of throwbacks. They're like modern retro. Is that kind of also like something that kind of piques your curiosity of, like, the older ones are just retro, but is it kind of cool to see like the modern take on that and kind of like
yes,
basically today and yesterday?
It brings that nostalgia into the 21st century kind of thing. But even then, it's not that retro aspect of it. Like the Twin Stadium arguably is fairly modern, and I love the design of Target Field. I don't know if it will ever be, like, for a while it was the top of my list just because of the different, I mean, I'm here every single day kind of thing, but it's not the overall modern or retro or modern retro or whatever. It's more just there's all these, like Fenway, right? Fenway's got the big green wall. Wrigley's got the ivy outfield. Target Field has all these great modern aspects to it. So I start to pick apart all these little pieces of each of the stadium and be like, I really love that. I want to get a picture of that. And then I start to make a bigger picture of, I guess when I go to this stadium, I really like this part of it too, and I like that part of it too. And that's.
Do you start to see like other stadiums within those stadiums too? Because I've done that, especially with the new one in Atlanta. I haven't been there yet. I want to go down, but when you kind of look at those stadiums, you start to say, oh, this place is like this place is kind of like that, the outfield is like this. So you find yourself doing that too?
Yeah, Atlanta specifically, we were talking about it the other day. Atlanta is almost a similar layout. The footprint is almost flipped horizontally so that all of our left field stuff is in right field there. Obviously it's not the exact same, but when you think about it too, the reason why design is really getting to me now is because people are putting so much emphasis on it, but also everybody just kills the idea, oh, that's not a great stadium, I don't like that. They all look the same. Well, yeah, you have a seating bowl, you're trying to put thousands of people around a shape of a field, whether it's football or baseball or whatever. The the seating configurations right now, there hasn't been a whole lot of progressive thought as to how to align or to how to really lay out those areas. So you're going to be limited in what the designs. There's going to be similarities across ballparks, So.
And yet the ones that do stick out, like I'm thinking the Coliseum in Oakland.
Yeah.
It's not like they're like known for that. They're not like, oh yes, I really like that design because of the massive foul territory. No, it gets shit on because people are like, it's just a dumb big open stadium. So it's kind of funny because you talk about people crap on things because it's too homogenized. Well, then you get instances of it breaking the mold,
and that's fine if you want to crap on it. But at the end of the day, somebody told them, you need to have a multi-purpose facility.
Yep.
And it just so happens that that's the design they came up with, that's the design they went with and approved, and now they gotta own it, like, fine if it sucks, but deal with it, you asked for it kind of thing, whereas we could have had that multi-purpose thing when Target Field got built, and I think the Twins finally listened to the fans for once, and we said, no, we want our own deal, get away from the Vikings, and look at how it turned out for us, so.
Although it is multi-purpose now, because we can have concerts, we can have, those soccer games.
That's not forced. That's not for any other reason than generating revenue, and that's it, period. I can guarantee you that none of those soccer players wanted to play a soccer game here.
Yeah. And I doubt that the soccer players really even want to play it at TCF Bank Stadium.
I doubt that too. Now, in their defense, TCF Bank's defense, they brought in grass, so at least it's closer to what it should be, But yeah, not quite the same.
Yeah, that's one of those instances where we got a team a little bit quicker than what we probably should have. It's nice to have another professional team here, but when you do it so quickly that we don't have really a decent, proper stadium for them and are scrambling trying to fit them in numerous different fields, it doesn't look so good. It'd be just nicer to have everything open at once and have everything nice and crystal clear, but I don't know. I guess we juggled the Vikings around for a while, so why not MLS?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think it's fine that it happened quickly because it's showing that the city is working more towards, not necessarily, like, I'm on the side of municipalities shouldn't help fund stadiums, but at the end of the day, it's also showing the city is supporting alternative sports, or not alternative, but just not the big four.
Yep.
And that, of course, brings more people here. That draws more interest, more money, all that kind of stuff to support everybody across the board.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's almost kind of like they're doubling down. Like it'd be one thing if all you're doing is negotiating, like Vegas. All you're trying to do is get the major sports come in. Looks kind of bad, but if you can show that you're giving it to other sports, the arts, where you're basically going down the line and saying, you know what, we recognize that there's more than just big sports. There's also other forms of entertainment, and you see it even downtown and stuff. I mean, we have a pretty darn good theater district for being so small.
The concert setup is pretty solid too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of support for things around here, so I think that's positive.
And even like they're bringing the X Games here, I don't pay that much attention to the X Games, but I do watch them periodically, and I guess I can't say for sure, but I don't recall an X Games being held at such a northerly city. So
is it regular X Games or winter?
This is regular X Games, yeah.
That's a little bit different than the triple X Games, correct?
Yes. But there may be crossover. We don't know. We don't delve to that deeply into.
Yeah, there won't be an at the gates of triple X Games, as far as I know.
At least at this point.
So what are the plans for this year? What do you want to see? What do you want to do when it comes to baseball?
Like I said, I just want to see decent baseball. We're going to try to go on that trip. It looks like I'm going to be able to have money to go with you. We'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed.
I got that DSLR purchase. I got to worry about paying a lot of money for. I might have to sell a kidney or something, but
if anyone's looking for a kidney out there and has a bunch of money, talk to Jared. You'll be able to find him. He's just the tall guy in Minneapolis area.
I don't drink, so both of my kidneys are good.
And if you want a part of the liver then too.
Yeah.
Prime liver.
Yep. And I haven't had any major injuries to them either.
No STDs either.
No STDs. Do STDs affect kidneys, by the way? They can? Okay. And yeah, I mean, we're going to try to, I know my dad's not listening, so that's fine, whatever, but we're going to try to take my dad out to Cincinnati to taking a baseball game out there, which you and I are not hitting on our trip, but my dad grew up as a Reds fan, so we're going to try to hit a Reds-Cardinals series out there in August. And
so if Johnny Bench is listening, if you could meet Jared and his dad out there, that would be great, because Jared's dad was a big Johnny Bench fan, so it'd mean a lot if you could just show up and shake hands, maybe take a selfie with them. That's all.
That would be super extremely fantastic. I'm pretty sure my dad could die happy after that experience for sure.
So
what
sounds
are you
like
looking forward to?
I'll get there, but it sounds like you're having some adventures, and also just how many times do you think you're going to go to Target Field?
Honestly, probably not more than 20, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 times.
So around a dozen?
Yeah. Just there's a lot of other things going on for me this year that not having a successful baseball product on the field, I'd rather put my attention on those other things this summer than going entirely to baseball like we did the first couple seasons. So.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's sort of similar to me. I think I have the 20 game package, and I looked, and
I'll be right back.
I think I'm gonna end up going to definitely 16 of those games. I'll probably go to the other 4, but no more than 20 here. So I was just saying I'd probably go to. I know 16 of the 20 games that I have for my package I'm going to. The other 4 are kind of up in the air, but I will be replacing those with, like you were saying, we're hoping for 5 different stadiums in.
I'm going straight through.
Oh, I'll be right back.
I'll throw it away. You can keep talking.
Thanks. So going to 5 different stadiums on the East Coast trip, then 3 on the West. So that's 8 more games. So probably about 25 games total. So I said about 25 games total. About 16, actually 17 because of today here. Then 5 out east, 3 out west. Oh, and then I forgot, going to go down to 1 in Atlanta. And then hopefully 1 in Milwaukee. So about 27. So that might be the most that I've ever gone to. I think my tops is 21 in a year. So I'm going to have a big baseball year, but most of it, almost about half of it won't be at Target Field. That kind of feels good.
I'm definitely looking forward to new baseball stadiums. That trip, hopefully I can go on it, fingers crossed, right? But it's going to be nice to, going and experience those new stadiums for sure will be probably the highlight of the trip for me. So,
and maybe the one day that we have off when we go out to DC, just seeing the random sites that are out there, not full of Cheeto dust though, but hopefully none of that.
Even though you don't want to go to the White House, I'm going to push for it pretty hard, because whether or not you agree with the president and House right now, it's still the White House of all past presidents. So even if you go to the White House, I can
almost get behind that.
Even if you go to the White House after, you will still have to acknowledge the fact that Cheeto was in the White House.
That's fine, but maybe I think what I'm going to try to do is I probably will still hold out. I can't control me, like, if we drive by it from looking, but that might be the time when here and there we might do some splits. That might be a really good time for me to go record store shopping, right?
That'd be horrible.
But
the whole point is to experience these things together and not be a pain in the ass.
But we can experience everything else together. It's just if I'm not saying that guy's name or referring to that office that they hold, I think that maybe by then it'll just be, maybe we'll be peachy, if you know what I mean.
What I hear right now is a bunch of excuses, ifs and buts, and all that kind of stuff.
It's not really excuses. It's more just sticking to
sticking to some pretty weak guns, in my opinion.
They might be weak, but at least they're my guns, right? I'm sure you have some of those weird guns that you hold on to.
This is not a threat against the White House or anything.
Yeah, when we say guns, we mean our arms, because they're so lethal.
Yeah, neither of us have any muscle.
We
at all.
Look at this. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. You can't tell that they're not there.
That's true. I did ward off a fight at a Wild game one day because of how tall I was. The guy thought I was super big, but I was just hidden under the jersey kind of thing. So.
Were you not going to hit on me? I'm wearing my Man Attractor.
Well, right.
My lifter puller hoodie with the Craig Finn hat too.
I've seen it so many times now that I think the attraction and it's all worn off.
Dang. I've lost that loving feeling.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that, we're only 5 minutes away. Might as well end this thing up. I can actually say this. This quasi, it's not an official sponsor, but it's pretty close, because now new at Target Field, for all of you vegans, which I know that there's so many that listen to this, the Herbivorous Butcher has a pop-up stand out in section 129, so you can order their, I think it was the Sriracha Brat, and it is, I know that it's fantastic because I've had it before, but what better area than at a baseball game too? So I mean, best of both worlds. So today's unofficial, official, quasi-official, whatever sponsor is the Herbivorous Butcher. Thanks for listening. This will be fairly regular because I'm going to try to do this at basically every stadium and every game. So maybe 20-something episodes this year. We'll see. Thank you. We love you. Bye.